As the Western world patiently awaits an official release for Thrice Upon a Time, Evangelion fans are left with little to do but to rewatch the content we already have in preparation. And that's exactly what I've been up to. And in my research, I've caught on to a couple things I never noticed the previous times I watched it. After a little research, I found that there are quite a few huge pieces of lore and behind-the-scenes history that I never knew and that the majority of Eva watchers completely miss out on. Eva is a series like no other. More parts psychological horror than mecha, it's a profound and complex anime that lures in viewers with promises of giant robots and fan service, then gives us much more than we bargained for. This cast of deeply flawed characters go through hell, and although the series delivers on epic battles, the story is ultimately an exploration of psychology and philosophy, although their usage and meanings are often debated among fans. One thing that often confuses people about the series is its use of religious imagery, something that has been extremely controversial over the years and remains a point of contention to this very day. Luckily, there are both in-universe explanations and behind-the-scenes answers to all the biggest questions about the series. Today, let's reveal the hidden meanings of Evangelion. First, let's talk about the Evas themselves. The in-universe explanation for where the Evas originate stems from the first ancestral race, giant humanoid beings that were the source of life for both the humans and the angels. The Eva units are revealed to be essentially clones of these beings, and cybernetically enhanced for combat against the angels. From a behind-the-scenes standpoint, the designs of the Evas are extremely unique and unlike all other mecha designs, including ones that exist in the world of Evangelion like Jet alone. And that's for a couple reasons. First and foremost, the Evas aren't giant robots, so the sleek and slender forms are meant to stand apart from bulkier frames like Gundam and Mazinger Z because on the inside are living creatures. But they also reflect a very personal connection to the show's creator, Hideaki Anno. You see, Anno grew up with popular tokusatsu series, live-action special effects shows and movies that feature costumed superheroes and monster villains. Famous examples include Toei's Super Sentai, the show that was loosely adapted in the US as Power Rangers, Kamen Rider, Godzilla, and most importantly, Ultraman. For both the original Neon Genesis series and the Rebuild films, Anno pulled directly from his otaku obsession with the Ultraman franchise, something he and I have in common. The connections between the two series are numerous, but the most glaringly obvious one is the character design. The core of the Evas is modeled after the color timer in the center of Ultraman's chest. This concept directly inspired the 5-minute time limit that Evas operate on when they're disconnected from their power source and relying on the internal battery. The Eva units also have a mythological connection. The horns atop their head are directly inspired by the Oni of Japanese folklore. In the words of Anno himself, there's a monster in Japan called the Oni, 2 horns sticking out of its head, and the overall image of Eva is based on that. I also wanted to give the impression that beneath this robot monster image is not so much a robot, but a giant human. The religious symbols in Eva are some of the most important aspects of the show. The NERV logo itself is one such example. The phrase, "God's in his heaven, all's right with the world," is in reference to the mission objective of NERV, to protect humanity and separate us from the angels, and keep God in his heaven. The logo borrows from biblical iconography, as the fig leaf is associated with covering the nakedness of Adam and Eve in Renaissance art. There are many interpretations of this, but they all lead to one conclusion, that in Evangelion, humanity, NERV, is at war with the forces of God, the angels. NERV's logo isn't the only one with symbolism to uncover. The insignia for Sele, the shadowy organization pulling the strings behind the Human Instrumentality Project. Their insignia is composed of an apple and a snake, borrowing from the Bible's Book of Genesis. The fact that they are embracing the very symbols of sin and defying God is very telling of Sele's plans to kill the angels and fuse all human souls together as one. Another example is the Magi computer system. Named after the 3 Magi who visited baby Jesus in the New Testament, they were created by Ritsuko Akagi's mother Naoko, and each given a part of her identity. The Spear of Longinus is another tool used in the fight against the angels. It gets its name from the spear that was supposedly used to pierce the side of Jesus during the crucifixion, because in the story of Eva, it is the weapon that can cause harm to the forces of God. Speaking of the crucifixion, an example of religious imagery that often stumps viewers is the reoccurring image of Lilith and the angels on the cross. This leads us right back to Anno's love of Ultraman. You see, the creator of Ultraman, Eiji Tsuburaya, was a devout Christian and often included religious symbols in the show, most famously the Ultra Brothers being crucified by the villain Ace Killer. Seeing this had a profound effect on Anno, who chose Christianity and its images to be the subjects of Evangelion. As I mentioned earlier, this all stems from a very personal place for Anno. Eva is arguably Anno's most personal work, and nowhere is this better exemplified than in his relationship to Eva's main character. Shinji Ikari is meant to reflect Anno's personality both on a conscious and unconscious level. Anno has previously described himself as a melancholic oral dependent, much like Shinji, who isn't really a hero as much as he is a person whose duty is thrust upon him. The characters of Evangelion are the core of why it really resonates with fans, and every character's name has hidden meaning behind them. When naming them, he pulled inspiration from other anime and manga that he enjoyed, battleships and military vehicles from his hobby knowledge, and even childhood friends, all of which give him a personal connection to his life. Here is Hideaki Anno describing the origins of the character names in his own words. Ikari, anchor, is a component of a ship. Shinji is also borrowed from a longtime friend, Shinji Higuchi. Incidentally, since both his wife and daughter's names have been used for anime projects, I also wanted to do the same for the husband and make them an anime family. But that said, my reasoning wasn't too logical. Sorry, Shin-chan. Ayanami is a warship of the former Japanese Navy. Rei is just a pun of Rei, Zero, but actually named after Rei Hino of Sailor Moon. At the time, this was a bait to invite him to the staff, but he didn't join. Soryu is a warship of the former Japanese Navy. Langley is from the US Navy warship. Asuka is borrowed from Shinji Wada's manga heroine. Katsuragi is a warship from the former Japanese Navy. Ritsuko is borrowed from a friend of mine in middle school. Kaji, rudder, is a component of a ship. Ryoji is also from a hero in Minako Narita's manga. Gendo is borrowed from another anime before Eva that was abandoned. Fuyutsuki is from a warship of the former Japanese Navy. Kozo just has a nice ring to it. Yui sounds similar to Rei, and it's a simple pun on Yui only one. Both Ibuki and Maya are borrowed from warships of the former Japanese Navy because they sounded good. Ibuki is also a commanding officer in Ultraman, but that's a very minor reason. I chose Maya because I love Taoko class heavy cruisers, best after Yamato class battleships. Kaoru Nagisa, this character was named by the screenplay writer Akio Satsukawa. Nagisa, shore, is a word related to the sea. Hideaki Anno gave these characters personal connections that strengthened his relationships with them, and therefore gave them more believability when creating them and the story they inhabit. Evangelion resonates with people more than other anime for a lot of reasons. Aside from the coolness factor of giant robot, giant monster battles, aside from the disturbing factor of the psychological horror inflicted on the characters, this is a series that has such a personal touch given to it by its creator. I hope that by learning about the lore and behind-the-scenes history of Eva, you've gained a newfound understanding of what really makes up this groundbreaking series as we go into the final rebuild film. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like and a comment, and subscribe to Ultra Munch for more. It really helps, and I really appreciate the support. You guys are the best. See you soon, everybody.